The Mets signed Bichette to an absolutely huge contract, and I do not like it. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Good Sports for You, where we are talking about good sports for you. So Bichette just signed a big old deal. And yes, I'm wearing my hat because I'm a little chilly, and that's why. He signed a huge contract with the Mets. The Mets signed him to a 3-year deal, $126 million. That is an average value of $42 million a year. And according to reports from Ken Rosenthal, it has opt-outs after the first and second season. Sure, why not? This is a huge deal for a guy who's good but not great. Kind of similar to how I felt about Kyle Tucker. This is so much money for a guy who put up 3.5 WAR last season, Baseball Reference WAR. A guy who had negative WAR last season in 81 games, who put up 4.8 WAR the season before, 3.7, 5.9 back in 2021. He's never finished in the top 10 in MVP voting. He's only a 2-time All-Star, should have been this year. And he was good this past season. And he's a bad defender. And I'm looking at the Mets, and I'm just thinking, what are we doing? There doesn't seem to be a clear direction, because you have David Stearns coming out and saying, hey, you know what? We traded our guy, Brandon Nimmo, who we had for a long time, one of the staples of this franchise, for Marcus Semien, because we want defense. This is going to be a defense-first team. That's how you clean up on the edges, which I get. I'm a Brewers fan. We are all about defense in Milwaukee, right? So I get it. I understand it. So you get Marcus Semien after trading away one of your guys, who I would like to note, it's not like Brandon Nimmo is a slouch when it comes to batting, right? Like, he's a decent bat. Yes, he's not Bichette. He still had a 114 OPS plus this past season compared to a 129. So yes, that's a drop, but it's not like Brandon Nimmo's bad. And you traded him for Marcus Semien, who's a huge drop offensively, but a huge plus defensively. So you say, we're going to get better on defense. That's what we want to do. We think our bats are there, whatever it may be. And then you go get Bichette on a huge deal, an absolutely massive contract. I mean, $42 million a year. He's going to be up there with some of the highest paid players in the whole entire sport. And he's not even close to one of the best players in the entire sport. I made this comparison yesterday with Kyle Tucker. He's getting paid more money than Aaron Judge. The 3-time MVP, Bichette will be getting paid more than, which is just absurd to think about for, like I said, a guy who's not great at defense. And also, what are you doing with him? What's the plan? Because last season, his range factor, his outs above average, according to StatCast Baseball Savant, was in the 1 percentile. He was one of, if not the worst defender in baseball according to outs above average. His arm strength is in the 36th percentile. And they talk about, oh, we're thinking about moving him to third, putting him at third base, which he doesn't play. Has he ever played a single game at third base? No, he's only ever played in the regular season at shortstop. He played second base during the playoffs, which was great, which was awesome. And like, I'm not trying to knock Bo at all. Huge shout out to him for getting this bag. He deserved a good contract, and he got a good contract. I don't know if he deserved a contract that was this big. He's never played an inning of third base in his life at the professional level. And now they're just saying, oh yeah, we're going to move you to third base, which I get, like, if you play shortstop, yeah. You need an arm. You need an arm to play there. Like, quite frankly, and he doesn't have one. And Marcus Semien doesn't have one either anymore. At least Marcus Semien has experience playing third base way back in the day, but they moved him off of it because he was better elsewhere. Marcus Semien, as we know, like I said, is one of the better defenders in all of Major League Baseball. But you got him. You got Francisco Lindor, who's going to stay at shortstop. Of course he's going to stay at shortstop. And you got Brett Beatty, who was their third baseman this past season, who was good. He had a really nice season. And he also doesn't have a great arm. So it's like, when you say you're prioritizing defense, are you actually prioritizing defense? Where are you going to put Brett Beatty? He's one of your better players. He put up 3.1 WAR this past season. I heard Jolly Olive talking about putting him in the outfield. Sure, I mean, across the minor leagues, he had 29 games in the outfield, and in the big leagues, he had 1 inning in the outfield. So is he going to be your left fielder, Tyrone Taylor in center and Juan Soto in right? Sure, I mean, it makes a good lineup, but you're losing Pete Alonso. You lost Jeff McNeil and you lost Brandon Nimmo. Of your guys who were your top position players in terms of WAR, that's your number 3 who's gone, your number 5, and your number 6. And you're getting Bo Bichette that you can hope can fill in for Pete Alonso. And you got Jorge Polanco. And I think it was Eric Kratz talking about, I think that they got enough offense to replace those guys. I strongly disagree. Jorge Polanco is not Pete Alonso. Bo Bichette is better than some other players. Like, Jorge Polanco had a good season last year, but I just don't know if he can repeat what he did, right? I don't trust it. I don't like the direction that the Mets are going at all. And maybe if they make a trade for a pitcher, that is all I ask. If they make a trade for a real starter, then I would feel a lot better. You know, as a Brewers fan, if they trade for Freddie, that could be a very realistic possibility. If they gave up one of their young players, if they gave up a Brett Beatty, I mean, that may be a little too high of an ask for a year of Freddie, but the Brewers are going to have a high asking price. I've heard them be in the Tarek Skubal conversation. Skubal is going to be an astronomical price. So what are you doing there? But they need somebody to be their starting pitching, because their starting pitching last season was just not very good. They had one player reach above 165 innings, or two technically. 2 pitchers reach above 165 innings. And that was David Peterson and Clay Holmes. They don't have any names in their starting rotation. Like when you look at their depth chart right now on MLB.com, you have David Peterson, who put up a 4.22 ERA last season with your most innings pitched. You have Clay Holmes, who put up a 3.53 ERA, a 114 OPS plus, and 165 innings pitched. And you got Nolan McLean, who is good. I do think that he will be good. If he's going to be your ace, okay, sure. Let the young guy really try and flourish. He's 23 years old. And then you got Kodai Senga in there too, who I don't even know what's going on with him right now. Is he hurt? But my point is you need starting pitching. That is the one thing that they desperately need. That is the one thing that I think everyone in the offseason was like, that's what the Mets need to prioritize. They need to get somebody. They need to get somebody who can be anyone, and it's frustrating. It seems like they're going in a direction that makes zero sense. And I think them losing out on the Kyle Tucker deal is what put them in the position to sign Bo Bichette, because they weren't really in the talks for it really at all. According to Bob Nightingale, the Phillies had offered Bo Bichette and agreed to it, I guess, a 7-year deal worth $200 million the night before, and thought that they were going to get him. And then the Mets came in 3 years, $126 million. After they allegedly offered Kyle Tucker 3 years, $150 million. So in my mind, you have this huge number of $150 million for 3 years, and it's bouncing around, right? Like, where's it going to go? Where's it going to go? Where's it going to go? And when you got a guy who isn't coming there anymore, okay, so where do we put it? Where do we put the money? And it's going to go to Bo Bichette because he was the next bat that was in play. And I mean, maybe Cody Bellinger, I don't know if they tried to make a play for him, and they just landed with Bo Bichette. It felt like a way to appease the fans, to say, hey, we're fine, we're good. And I just disagree. I just strongly disagree. If they make a trade, if they make a big-time trade to trade one of their infielders, I think that they could be in a good position. But even then, I don't know. I just don't believe in the defense of Bo Bichette at all. And I mean, Lindor's a good defender. Marcus Semion's obviously a good defender. And if your first baseman is going to be Jorge Polanco, which I know was really the talks and the conversations, I have no idea what he's going to do at first base. He's not a first baseman. So there's just so many unanswered questions that this brought up. It seems like it asked more questions than it answered, and I don't like that at all, personally. I just don't think it's a good signing, and it is a huge, huge deal because if things go wrong, you're on the hook for $42 million. 42. That is absurd. But this sends a huge ripple effect across the whole entire sport because there were a lot of teams that thought, oh yeah, we're in the Bo Bichette sweepstakes. And honestly, you could consider it a win because it's a loss for these other teams. The Blue Jays don't have a guy that came up with Vlad, which I think is a huge loss. I think they really, really needed to prioritize bringing back Bo this year. Honestly, if the Blue Jays gave him this contract, I would say, hey, that's good. I don't hate that at all because you need him on the team. And now you don't have him on the team, and I'm just afraid that things are going to spiral, obviously. And then when you're looking at the other teams that were in contention to sign him, the Yankees were in big conversations. Yankees, please do something. You've done nothing. You've traded for Ryan Weathers. Lottie freaking die, you know? I mean, he's good. But he's not going to be the guy that you need to turn the tide, to be a World Series caliber team, and you have the money to do that. And also, now that all these other signings have happened, you're looking at Cody Bellinger, like I talked about with Kyle Tucker. Cody Bellinger is a better player than Bo Bichette, in my opinion, point blank, period. I mean, this past season, Cody Bellinger had 5 WAR, you know? And he's had his ups and downs, and he's had his injury struggles. Bo Bichette has as well. Like, quite frankly, let's look at the past 3 seasons. Cody Bellinger has had 12 WAR even. Bo Bichette has had 8 WAR even. That's a 4 WAR difference. OPS plus, Bo Bichette 114, so 14% above league average. Cody Bellinger 125. And Cody Bellinger can play the field. Former Gold Glove winner. I know that Gold Glove was a long time ago, but still, former Gold Glove winner. So what contract is he going to get? Because I think it's going to be a big one. I think it's going to be a huge one, and I think that the Yankees need to get on it right now to try to appease the fans in the Bronx. And then also you look at the other teams. The Red Sox, they have had a rough offseason. You lost Alex Bregman, signed Ranger Suarez. They have the exact opposite issue that the Mets are having. They now have 4 great starting pitchers. They got Garrett Crochet, who's going to be fantastic. They got Sonny Gray, who's going to be putting up a quality season because that's what he does. He's going to be fine. You got Brian Bayo, who was good last season. He had a 3.35 ERA last season. If you put that guy on the Mets, he's going to be one of, if not the best starting pitcher. So you got him, and then you got Ranger Suarez, who just went there, who is another all-star caliber starting pitcher. And then you're looking at the bats, and you're like, oh, wow, we really could have used a guy like Bo Bichette. We really could have used a guy who could have been a big bat. So that's a huge miss for them after losing out on the Alex Bregman sweepstakes. And then you have the Phillies. The Phillies are the last part of the equation. They are the guys who allegedly were offering Bo Bichette a longer contract, little less money AAV, but a longer contract, and they missed out on him as well. And so they decided to pivot to re-sign JT Realmuto, which is great. I love JT. On a 3-year deal worth $45 million, which again, that's a big deal. For a guy who's getting up there in age, he's good. He's still good. He still swings a decent bat for a catcher, and he's still going out to catch every single day. You know, like he can catch an entire season. He caught 132 games last season, which is up there for his most games caught in a single season at the age of 34. But that is my concern, the age of 34. Like, you're looking at a JT Realmuto and you're like, by the time this contract is done, we're going to be paying a guy who's 37 years old. He's about to be 35, so you're going to be paying a guy who's 38 years old. Is that the way math works? Or 37 years old or whatever it is. And he's going to be paying $15 million a year. I don't believe in the Phillies team, and you missed out on Suarez, you missed out on Bo Bichette. You needed some youth in the lineup or something because you're just a team of old guys now. You got Schwarber, who's old. You got Harper, who's getting up there. You got JT, who's also getting up there. Trey Turner isn't the youngest in the world. It felt like this past season was the last dance for them, and they're basically running it back with less starting pitchers. Which I don't think is ever a good sign for anyone. And I know that they've revamped their bullpen, which is great, which is cool, and they're doing all that jazz, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think that Bo Bichette would have been a big boost to the Phillies lineup. And they could have found a spot for him, I think, more easily because they didn't really have a third baseman at all. Or they had Alec Boehm, but Alec Boehm's just like... So yeah, I mean, I guess they had Boehm, but I don't love him defensively either. And is he, what's the deal with him? Arbitration, he's going to be a free agent next year. So if you could have locked up a big long-term contract, he could have freed up one of those guys to be traded, shop him around. And like I said, this all could be a moot point if David Stearns is able to work some magic and trade for a good starting pitcher. But a part of me is here and I'm like, David Stearns is not cut out to be a big market GM. He was a great GM with the Brewers and he knew what to do with the Brewers, and it doesn't seem like he knows what to do with the big teams because it felt like a panic buy on Bo Bichette where it's basically like, we got this money, we have to spend it right now, let's do it. And then getting rid of these franchise staples, Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz, and bro, you got Luke Weaver and Devin Williams now. They aren't Edwin Diaz. You got rid of all these guys. Jeff McNeil. That's something that Brewers fans are used to. So it could fly in Milwaukee. It cannot fly in New York, where they're expecting their stars to stick around for longer. Where they're expecting their guys to retire in the jersey. That's just not the way it is for David Stearns, though. He is going to try to squeeze the money out, but you don't need to squeeze the money out when you have the richest owner in baseball. So that's what I'll say. So my big things with the Mets right now is, one, it confused me to no ends, them getting Bo Bichette. But you can fix it all if you get a starting pitcher. All you need is one, because if you basically move all the guys down one spot, if you got Nolan McLean as your 2, you don't hate that. If you got like a Sean Manaea, like slotted in your 4 or something, if you got a Kodai Senga in like your 3, okay, now we're shaping up. But the fact that they don't have a true ace when they're trying to compete for the playoffs is extremely concerning to me because you need pitching to win. Soto can do everything he can. Lindor can do everything he can. And they basically did this past season. I mean, Lindor finished 10th in MVP. Alonso finished 11th in MVP. Soto finished 3rd in MVP. And they didn't even make the playoffs. And that is with Edwin Diaz, who was one of the best relievers in all of baseball this past season. So you're like I said, you're adding the bat of Bo Bichette, which is great. But you lost the bat of Pete Alonso. And then you don't have any starters. You don't have any starters whatsoever. And the last thing that I want to end with is Alex Bregman and even a guy like Pete Alonso. You cannot tell me that Pete Alonso couldn't have gotten a bigger contract than what he got. Because I mean, this next season, it says, according to Baseball Reference, $21 million and then 33 and a half. Bo Bichette just got way more than you. And yes, you're a first baseman, so that hurts your value. You hit 38 home runs last season. You had a 144 OPS plus. You finished 11th in MVP voting. Alex Bregman. He put up 3.5 WAR this past season. The exact same as Bo Bichette. In less games, he had basically the same OPS plus. 129 for Bichette, 128 for Alex Bregman. Bregman has been doing it a lot longer for a lot more consistent. Bo Bichette has a much better batting average. We know that. But Alex Bregman has a better on-base percentage. Bo Bichette has Embiid in slugging and OPS, just barely, not even by a whole lot. And Alex Bregman's a good defender. And he is getting substantially less. It's like, what, $7 million less? Something like that. I don't know, man. I just do not know. And I think this and the Kyle Tucker signing just shows the bigger issues that these kind of players that aren't... Kyle Tucker is better than Bo Bichette, you know? But even Kyle Tucker isn't a superstar, in my opinion. He's great. He's great. Don't get me wrong, but he's not at the level of... And when I say superstar, I'm talking like top 10 players in the league. Like a Shohei, a Soto, an Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt. I may even put Lindor like in that category, you know? Somebody like that. I don't think Kyle Tucker is there, and he's getting a $60 million average annual value. And Bo Bichette, who I think is a tier below that. He's in like a... He's not a star of a team. For most teams, he wouldn't even be a star. Like, if the Brewers got Bo Bichette, you'd be like, oh, that's nice. I'd expect him to be the third best player on the team. I'd expect Contreras to be better. I'd expect Terang to be better. I'd expect Churio to be better. Assuming Churio takes a step forward. On most teams, on this team especially, he's a tertiary star. Like, he's going to be the third player. And for $40 million, $40+ million for your third best position player, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like in basketball, why would you pay your 3 option a supermax? You know, that just doesn't make any sense. Or in football, why are you paying your wide receiver 3 the amount of money that a wide receiver 1 should get on another team? I don't know, man. We will see what happens with the rest of it. Cody Bellinger should be the next domino to fall, and for all we know, that could happen tomorrow. I see on Jeff Passan's Twitter, Victor Caratini to the Twins. Cool. Why not? 2-year contract. Good for Victor Caratini, man. Still keeping a job. But that is all I got for you. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, and I'm out. Peace.